Hello there, welcome to every single one of my magazine character videos in one video. Now this video is going to be very long, but before we start I just want to say the first video has been re-edited because Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to talk about some Thomas Friends magazine characters. Yeah, that's kind of trash. The second and third video haven't been re-edited much, mainly just fixing misinformation, but before we start this, I cannot thank this series enough for inspiring my game of Sodor magazine locations to be made. Link in the description if you're interested. With that out of the way, I hope you enjoy this little collection of videos. Thomas Friends, you have a lot of canons. You got your TV series canon. You got your railway series canon. You got your All Engines Go canon. But one Thomas Friends media source I've always been interested in that takes place in its own canon, or not, is the magazines. It's definitely not CGI or railway series. It has to be TV series, but then there's some stuff that I wonder if this is even canon to TV series or if it's own canon. It's honestly just very confusing, and I honestly don't know. While I was confused and trying to sort the puzzle pieces together to perfectly fit them in place, which never happened, I found out, whoa, there's custom characters in these, and oh my gosh, these designs are so cool. This guy's a playground. I don't ever want to play on him. I knew what I had to do. I had to share my discoveries with the internet. So, let's get into the characters. The first character we have is named Old Victor, and he appears in the story Old Victor. I know, very creative. It starts off with this very old grumpy engine that James has to pull, and he doesn't really know where he's going to put him, and Old Victor actually ends up calling James feeble for struggling with this load, which, yeah, great start. James asks him why he's so grumpy, and he said that he's going to be sent to be scrapped. That night in the sheds, James admits that he feels bad for Old Victor, and then when they wake up, they assume that he's been scrapped. But then, a couple days later, Henry sees that there's some interesting looking playground equipment. When James goes to check it out, he sees that it is Old Victor, and Old Victor admits that he likes being playground better than being scrapped. The next character appears from the story, The Scenic Railway. Duck is tasked with picking up an engine named Sydney. Sydney brags about how his railway is prettier than Duck's. But on the journey with Duck through all the mountains and all the loops to get to the Scenic Railway, Sydney admits that he was kind of wrong about his line being prettier than Duck's. The next character appears in the story, The Cloud Factory, and this character is Little Barford. This is really just a throwaway story. Basically, Gordon calls Percy small, and then they see Little Barford, and then Percy's like, yep, I'm medium. That's basically it. It's just Peter Sam, but purple. Kind of cool, though. The next character appears in the story, Thomas Braves the Waves, and this character is the Pier Train. Basically, the Pier Train, the only purpose it serves is Thomas fanboying over it, and then he learns that he's happy the way he is. Really boring story, but really interesting design. I really like this design. Next, we have the Flying Thistle. It appears in the story, The Flying Thistle. This character arrives in Sodor, and it apparently is very famous that the engines don't even think it exists. Now, when it does arrive, and it is real, it runs a special express line, but then breaks down, and then Donald has to take the express for him. Gordon actually ends up talking to the Flying Thistle and cheers him up about him filling the express, which, honestly, that must have been really cool for Gordon to be able to meet a cousin of his. It's an okay story, but, it's pretty cool. The next character appears in the story, The Unlucky Engine. This character's name is 13. Donald and Douglas complain about being overworked, so Storm Hat brings an engine from the mainland to help him out. This engine says that he has really bad luck, and soon his luck gets to help him out because he gets stuck in a landslide. And he's afraid he's going to be scrapped, but Storm Hat tells him that he will get a bigger firebox so he'll work better in the future. Now, wow, that is extremely tragic, getting stuck in a landslide once you get borrowed from the mainland. That's like so sad. These next characters appear in a magazine activity book, and they are the sleeper coaches. These are meant for passengers that are sleeping on overnight long drives just to sleep in. Now, their personalities are unknown along with their gender, but I guess that's where you come in to make up their own personality. I'm pretty sure they're the same basis as Daisy. These can be used as coaches. They have been before. I don't know if these versions can drive, but I know that sometimes that these are used as coaches, but can drive on their own. But yeah, that's the sleeper coaches. This next character isn't really a magazine character. They didn't appear in a magazine. In fact, they appeared in a little golden book. And they are the Golden Steam Engine. Now, she really only acts as the Golden Goose because this story that it appears in is Thomas and the Beanstalk. There's no personality here. She really just acts as the character that they need to save. That was the first batch of magazine characters, so let's move on to the second batch. So you know what they say with sequels. If that first video did good and make money, milk it until you have more money. Or I could just make a sequel. For our first character, this character appears in the story Peep and Sleep. In the story, Emily is having trouble sleeping because Duck is throwing a temper tantrum and blowing his whistle too loudly. When she finally falls asleep, this engine visits her in her dream, and in her dream, this engine makes her fall asleep for hundreds of years. Only in her dream, not like real life. This engine is named Emily's Ghost Engine, and it's pretty cool and definitely very ghost-like. I love the way they warp the image there, it's really cool. The next character appears in the story, The Most Troublesome Truck, and the character's name is Old Bennett. Old Bennett had never been washed, and he hasn't left the yard in years. But one day, Thomas had to move him, but Thomas was a little scared because, well, he was the most troublesome truck around. When Thomas took him to get loaded with all the junk, the crane operator accidentally knocked him into the water. Honestly, that probably did him a favor in the long run. After he was saved by a boat, he got a new paint job and was never seen again. Since I just talked about a truck, let's talk about another truck that appears in the story, Think Pink. When Thomas comes back from the works, he's looking fire, and the trucks are very jealous of him. So, when Stormhat has had enough of hearing their argument, and being the sneaky man he is, he paints the truck bright pink. This truck gets the name the Naughty Pink Truck. This next character is actually an old friend of Annie and Clarabelle's. In the story, an old friend, Annie and Clarabelle find out that one of their old friends, mail coach, creative, I know, is going to be scrapped. Thomas and his driver talk to Sir Tom Hat about potentially buying mail coach for Annie and Clarabelle's sake. And he does. Then Sir Tom Hat lets Annie and Clarabelle know that their old friend is still alive and will be used as a tool shed. These next characters appear in 3 separate stories. They're kind of a group. These are what I like to call the other miniature engines. The first character is the Safari Park engine. The Safari Park engine appears in the story Castle on the Hill. It's got me thinking of Castle on the Hill by Ed Sheeran. I'm going to be honest and say that I did not want to look through all of the magazines on the wiki to find what page this character even appears in because I cannot even find the page, but from the page that I see here, I like to think that the Safari Park engine lives in the castle right there. The next character is the miniature red engine. It appears in the story Shrinking. It's basically a conversation starter for Thomas and Oliver, but yeah, it's kind of a neat design. I like this one. The next character is the tiny blue engine. The tiny blue engine appears in the story The Tiny Engine. The purpose that this engine serves in the story is that it makes Sam feel better after James tells him that he's too small to be useful, and when he sees this very small engine, smaller than him, being useful, it cheers him up. Come on, James, that was kind of rude. Don't make me cancel you on Twitter. Next, we have Dave. Dave appears in the story Thomas and the Missing Whistle. Dave ends up losing his whistle, and he's afraid about how he's going to explain it to Sir Tom Hat. He eventually finds his whistle, and he tries to make up for it by doing tickets and just doing his job better. I feel bad for Dave. He's, after all, new guard. Oh well, I guess we gotta have respect for Dave. This next character appears in the story Henry's Hoax. Now, you might have stumbled across this image before and wonder what this character is, but you would have failed to find it because you really wouldn't know where to search. Well, let me tell you, this character is the Blue Overhaul engine. This engine goes through a similar process that Henry went through when he had his firebox replaced. Kind of cool to see. Why is he awake, though? Isn't that like surgery? I don't know. I guess some surgeries you're awake for, but that's kind of weird. This next character just belongs in the new series era. This character appears in the story, The Ice Cream Van. And his name is The Ice Cream Van. You guessed it. The Ice Cream Van is kind of a cocky character. Daisy actually gets jealous of his popularity, but then he breaks down. Daisy has to help him. He's definitely a new series character. So weird. I'm going to do a Coach Lightning round because there's a lot of coaches. First up, the Animal Sanctuary coach. It appears in the story A New Home. It was used for the Express, but then it was retired. It was found years later and was made into an animal home. The new coach first appeared in the story Clarabelle's New Friend. Annie and Clarabelle had a falling out, but then Annie had to go to work, so they got a new coach. This coach was really rude and insulted Clarabelle singing. That made her go Super Saiyan, and after that fight, the new coach was never seen again. The Play Coach first appeared in Play Train. This coach was saved from scrap by Oliver. They ended up using her to do plays. The Station Coach first appeared in the story Clever Carriages. It was found in an overgrown siding after a station was vandalized. It was used for a new station. The Posh Coaches, they appear in the story The Posh Coaches. They were barred because there were a lot of passengers for the summer. They were really rude to Thomas and Diesel. Next is the Special Station Master's coach. It appears in the story The Special Station Master, and it was put next to the station so it could see all his engine's friends going by. Well, that's it for the lightning round, so let's keep on going. These next characters are Edward's friends. They appear in the story Chiff Chaff. They don't have really any personality, but cool designs. Next we have Carols on Wheels truck. It appears in the Carols on Wheels story. It has no personality, like Edward's friend. These next two characters are kind of the same. This first character comes from the story Special Bus Service. The story takes place where Birdie was brand new to Sodor. At the time, the majority of the railways closed down for repairs, and buses were in charge of getting passengers place to place. This one red bus was called the Special Bus Service, teased Birdie for being small. But Birdie, being Birdie, challenged him to a race, and Birdie won. The Special Bus Service for some reason saw that as proof that he was a good bus. And he didn't tease Birdie after that. The next bus appears in the story The Best Bus. This character, the open-top double-decker bus, was taking a lot of Birdie's passengers, which made Thomas concerned. But then it rained, and they took Birdie instead. This next character appears in the story The White Van. It stars the White Van and the White Van Man. They came to Sodor to help out, but they found it fun making fun of the engines, which led to the engines disliking them. But then the White Van Man parks the White Van in Sir Topham Hatt's parking spot, which led to the van being towed. Oh my gosh, that's so perfect. These next characters appear in the story Dodgems. The Dodgems are bumper cars, and you wouldn't expect these things to even be alive. They believed that the only way to have fun was in the fair, but one Dodgem got launched in the sea when Percy was taking them to the fair, and the Dodgem liked it, like a psycho. The others, being kinda dumb, realized that you can have fun outside of the fair. This character appears in the story The Carnival. This character is the Float Lorry. It's not even really a character and honestly doesn't serve a huge purpose, but how cool an episode would it be if all the engines were concerned about a lorry being back and it was just the float lorry? The next character appears in the story Sweet Scent, and this is the Blue Engine. Now, this is just a random blue engine that appears in this magazine. Probably meant to be Edward, but just a whole new character now, so thanks, magazines. This next character is kinda a character and appears in the book Thomas and the Bluebird. In the story, Bluebird decides to just hang out in Thomas's funnel. But then Thomas goes to see Farmer Colette, which Farmer Colette actually originated from magazines, but then you gotta be in Emily's Adventure in Season 8. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Farmer Colette decides to decorate his oil tanker with the funnel and makes a replica of Thomas's face, and Bluebird moved in, so Thomas decides to call the oil tanker Bluebird. That is like the luckiest situation he could be in. Next up, we have the character Angus. Angus first appears in the book Fire Alarm, and he's a small mini fire engine, and he can sometimes be full of himself, but knows when to be serious. The next character is the Tandem Rotor Helicopter. This character appears in the story Size Wise, and it's at an air show with Harold. That's the second batch of magazine characters. Let's move on to the third and final batch of magazine characters. Have you ever heard people say that when there's a sequel, they wish that there was a third one? Well, here's the third one. That's right, I got more magazine characters to talk about. And it's not just the humans, we got some engines too. So with that out of the way, let's get into the video. So, what are the characters I'm going to start with, you might wonder? Well, I'm going for the characters that are kind of actually related to the Railway series, and they are the Red Engines. No, not these two Red Engines. Sodor has 3 more Red Engines. It's kind of crazy. This first one appears in the book Thomas and the Tiger. I know that's not a magazine story, but I forgot to talk about that in my Thomas Mini Books video. And it appears on Sir Tom Hatt's wall. And then the other two appear in Fun to Learn magazine story. They are illustration errors of James, but, you know, it's kind of cool. They're their really own engine. Next up, we have a human character, which I think you'll find interesting. He is Webman, and he is a famous superhero. Yes, I'm serious. Tom's Friends has their own superhero. Will Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse feature Webman? Come on, Sony, this is a lot of money you're just passing up. Like, $3 worth. Webman actually captures a criminal while he's on Sodor, and he captures a jewel thief with Harold, of course, where he is dressed as the Webman Mobile. Yeah, it's a little weird. There are more superheroes to mention, and they are Tyroman and the Fang. They're not really that interesting. Their designs are okay. There are some bank robbers, which do kind of look like farmers and not robbers, honestly, which I kind of wish that they took down instead of the police. Next, we have Dan. Dan is Duck's driver's son, and Dan looks like he's having a hard time coping with that broken toy he has there. Next, we have the jeweler. Edward saw this man run out of Stromhat's office with Stromhat's watch and his wife's necklace. He boarded Emily's train, and Edward stopped Emily, and the man was searched and explained that he was just a jeweler. Next, we have the film star. She visited Sodor in a seaplane, and Neville, being Neville, didn't know what a seaplane was and was shocked to see a plane in the sea, and he kind of freaked out about it, which I think it's actually kind of funny. Which I really like that story idea. Even for Neville, which is basically a nothing character. I like that. Making nothing characters have something. Since we're speaking of film stars, let's go on to the famous film star. James was given the special job of collecting her, but her silk scarf blew away and landed on a rooftop. Thomas had to go get it, and yeah, she's worried that much about a scarf? Next is the doctor. Who is he? That I don't know, but he did help Stromhat when he wasn't feeling well. Next is Percy's driver's nephew, William. William's kind of boring, but he does love to travel. Up next is Mr. and Mrs. Ball. They are the owners of Dingley Hall. Next is a great duo, Bill and Tim. They appear in a learning magazine, and look at Tim giving that direction to Bill. What great teamwork I'm seeing right there. I'm so proud of you both. Next, we have the temporary controller. He filled in a Stromhat while he was away, which makes you think, why wasn't he in Big World Big Adventures, the movie? That could have helped a lot. Now, as fun as it was to see Mr. Percival control the railway, it would have been cool to see the temporary controller fill in for Mr. Percival on the narrow gauge railway. Next, we have Arkwright. He's the captain of his own yellow canal boat. I kind of like that. Next, we have the Eerie Engine. The Eerie Engine is basically a sculpture of scrap. Thomas saw the Eerie Engine at a scrapyard and thought it was alive. It's kind of creepy, honestly. Next are the very important people. They are very important. One of them is even the mayor. Next up, we have a famous DJ from Radio Sodor, and that is Restless Eric. He held a pop concert called Sodor Goes Pop at one point. It's kind of interesting. Alright, those are most of the interesting human characters. The rest I'll cover them pretty fast, and then we'll move on to the other characters. We got the golfers, the shepherd, Bert Koch, the bride and the groom, the special station master, the cafe owner, the chimney sweep, the painter and decorator, the barley corn farm shepherd, the ice cream man, the end of the rainbow owner, Dingley's hall manager, the two smartly dressed women, Danny, the coal man, Miss Brown, the black bearded man, Nurse O'Neill, Mr. O'Neill, the balloon seller, the art thief, the art gallery manager, Stephen and his mother, the elderly lady, Paul Walford, Danny Day, the Sherberts, Sam the shepherd, Roddy Bulby, the nurse, Fred the fogman, the milkman, the sculptor, the mine inspector, Alf, Nellie, Farmer Colette's wife, the canoeist, the magician and the witch, Adam and Debbie, the soldiers, Ted, the small boy, Sleepy Sam, the ice artist, the vet, the mill manager, the forest ranger, the car ferry manager, the famous writer, the fried fish man, the injured mountain climber, Kit's owner, Kit's a dog by the way, S. Jones, Mr. Savino, the Sodor Toy Factory manager, Marcus, Elsbridge Rovers FC manager, the head keeper, the skipper, the scrap man, Smiley the clown, the Sodor Jazz Band, the artist, the acrobats, the signwriter, the priest, Simon, Joe, Jill and Jane, the mayor of Wellsworth, the carnival queen, and finally, the Sodor laundrette manager. Wow, that is a lot of humans I just listed there. But now since we're done with the humans, characters, let's go on to some more engines. Here we have the old Guardsman. I found this picture on Pinterest, by the way. I'm pretty sure it's official, but if it's not, let me know. The old Guardsman was found by Thomas and Percy at the harbor. They saw how miserable he was, but they had a surprise for him. He was going to be turned into a birdhouse, and now he's a place for birds to live in. I'm pretty sure he likes it. Next is the Bright Truck. This truck was overturned on Thomas's branch line, and it was kind of old. After Terrence meets the truck, Thomas gets an idea. After Thomas tells Stromhat, they get the truck painted and repaired, and they put flowers to brighten it up. and it gets painted a nice yellow. Next, we have the car train. Now, this engine is a crazy idea. It's like Flynn, except it doesn't talk, and it's funny to look at, and the car actually doesn't go on the tracks. But this is just funny. I like seeing this train just on the road, especially teaming it up with George. That has to be the best idea for a new George story. I absolutely love this character. Next up, we have the mainland traction engines. They appear in the story back home, and they're Trevor's friends. That's right, Trevor has friends. Honestly, these designs are really cool, and I'm glad I get to see them. Next, we have the poster engine. Percy said that he saw a flying engine. Of course, no one believes him. Then he goes to show Thomas, and it's a poster of an engine with no wheels visible. Thomas says it's not fun to play tricks. But yeah, that's the poster engine. It's supposed to be like Gordon, except not Gordon, like advertiser friendly Gordon, I guess. Next up, we have the High Speed Post Train. The High Speed Post Train is actually a Thomas Annual character, but look at that. That looks like it's literally from the magazines. It works on British railways and it delivers packages between Sodor to the mainland. It only appeared in one story, and it was Toby and the Mail Train. And for the last character, I saved an interesting one. Here we have Silver. Silver appears in the story Smile Please, along with a lot of really badly drawn main characters from Thomas and Friends. Now, this is where it kind of gets a little weird because Silver isn't this one's official name, but the name Silver comes from the book The Magic Spell with its silver narrow gauge engine. Well, this silver is standard gauge, and in Smile Please, it's just a book, and this might have been Edward at one point. But I don't know, it's weird. The magic spell silver gets turned into Tramp through a wizard because he was too cocky and rude and arrogant to other engines, and then he gets turned into Rusty and Old and becomes Tramp. But then again, seeing how inconsistent magazines were, this could easily be the silver that they're talking about from Magic Spell, just standard gauge, but small to fill a narrow gauge track. I don't know. I don't like counting this silver as Silver Tramp from Magic Spell. It really just doesn't make any sense if you look at it gauge-wise, but if you don't look at it like that, then I guess it makes perfect sense that these two silvers would be connected. But yeah, that's Silver and Silver Tramp. And that is every single Tom's Friends magazine character. Well, I could have forgotten some, probably some minor human character or engine that I just didn't think about. But I am pretty sure that is all the magazine characters, at least the most important ones and the least important ones. If you made it this far, just go ahead and subscribe. Obviously, you like the content I put out. That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye, everyone.